It looks like we're live. Hello, everyone. Today I'm here with Mark from WS Forms. We're just going to give it a couple of minutes for people to join us. And as this is happening, I'm just going to introduce the topic that we're going to be covering today. It's an exciting one because I know that once we did this transition within my old agency, this allowed us to use our own website as a marketing channel on its own. So we were getting leads, we were getting not only getting leads, but getting all of the information that we needed to actually initiate a project. And this is what we're going to show you today, how to build this into your own agency website. Using WS Forms, which is a mind-blowing system that, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are dabbling with all kinds of different form systems inside WordPress. But what you're going to see here today is a game changer as far as I can tell. So, Mark, how about you start by introducing yourself?
Sure. I'm Mark Westgard. I'm the founder of WS Form. I've been in the web game for quite a few years, a bit like Vito. So I've been at it for 26 years, getting the grey hairs as a result. And we started, I currently own an agency myself, a web agency. We're based in the US. And we started WS Form about 3 or 4 years ago. So we wanted to hit the form plugin industry with a new and fresh solution using all the latest gizmos that are out there, and really happy to be presenting it today and giving this opportunity. So thank you, Vito, for having us on board.
Well, my pleasure. And we talked a little bit before we went live, and you told me about your old agency, Absolute Internet. That was one of the biggest agencies in the UK.
Yeah, that was started back in '96 when we had to sell the web to people. You had to explain to people what the internet was. We were the second second fastest growing agency in the UK at the time. So we had some of our clients were like Safeway, British Telecom, British government back then. So we've been through the whole ringer, through the .com boom and bust and back again. So
right. And is this something that you kind of played with yourselves, or I guess it was a different era than to nowadays where people are used to going through online forums and doing those kind of things. But what was your lead generation mechanism back then?
Well, back in the very early days, it was literally knocking on doors. I mean, that was lead generation, but it was still the same process. It was trying to understand someone's business, understanding how the web could help them. How we can use a website to attract customers, but also serve customers as well. So really, what's happened over the years is just technology has advanced on the web. There's a lot more we can do with it to improve user interaction. It used to be back in the day that forms were, table layouts and very, very static. But now the advances in JavaScript and everything else really enable us to make that experience much nicer for users. But fundamentally, still asking the same questions. It's just presenting those questions in a different way. So there was a misconception back in the day that the web would make you millionaires. It's any website's going to be run like any other business, and if it's an extension of your business, it's really just another communication channel. But that communication channel has got to be as good as your best salesman. So it's same questions really.
And I used to say this to our clients all the time, that if you treat your website, if you treat your digital platform as you would a physical shop, then it will get you the same results. And I think that a lot of us as web designers, as web builders, we still make the same mistake. And I know that I have for a long time. I was going out shaking hands in like meet and greet kind of meetings here in London, trying to find the right people, not necessarily when they needed me, but because I needed them, instead of trying to attract them into my own brick and mortar shop online, right? And that's when we change this kind of mindset as to let's attract people to the website, show them what we got, and then give them a form of communicating with us. Then the whole game changed. I didn't waste so much time dealing with people that needed my services in 2 years from now. I was talking to people that need my services right now. So
yeah, I think it depends on. I think it depends on where you are with your business as well. If you're an established business, you're probably more likely to get leads through the website, just through people hearing about you and through people finding you online. If you're a newer business, there's a lot more on the groundwork to build those relationships initially. But again, fundamentally, same questions being asked, and they haven't really changed much to this day. But it's got any website's got to be dealt with in pretty much the same way, like you said, like a bricks and mortar business. It's just a different way of communicating.
So if we're going to get started here, we can see that we have we're going to go through a few issues or a few challenges that all of us are experiencing, or a lot of us are experiencing when it comes to trying to generate leads and to try to generate sales, really, because the leads is not the goal, right? The sale is the goal. And from our own website. So the lead gen form doesn't give us enough data. And we even have a bit of an example here of what is the most common form that you would see out there, right? You get like a name, an email, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe that would be a name and a phone number, and that's really it. So, but then you're not gathering the information that you need to actually help the person. That creates additional communication cycles. And that really a lot of times it kind of makes the person cold even before you started the process with them.
Yeah.
And then we have leads that don't really go anywhere. So for example, you're going in blind into the conversation instead of having the questions pre-made, and we're going to give you a set of questions on this session that is very much inspired by this is what we did in my agency and what worked for us. It was inspired by Troy Dean and WP Elevation, what was being taught over there. But then over time, we adapted this to become to be our own, and we were A/B testing all the time to make sure that the form and the questions that we ask are giving us the right answers and on time. Mm-hmm. And so we can see a few things here. We have the going in blind, right? So we just got the name, the email, or just the name and the phone number. And you recently fill out the form on our website. What are you really looking for, right? So that's really the question that we would want to get answered first. There is no follow-up if the lead does not reply, and that is another point that we're going to automate through the integration systems inside the WS Forms. And also, we're not really tracking what works, what doesn't work. We're not really seeing the results as they come. And I'm going to ask you to touch on that as well a little bit, Mark, because what we did is we actually split the form up, and we talked about this before the session. We split the form up so that we can get the email first, and then also be able to see what are the replies, or when did people stop. And that became a bit of a challenge after GDPR with some privacy laws, but I think we also have a solution for this, right? So we're going to see that a little bit as well. And then the third challenge, or the third issue that a lot of our audience is experiencing is that the client onboarding is not uniform. And that happens when you present an open question like this, right? What are you looking for? And then sometimes you're going to get the right answers. In most times, you're not, right? You're just going to get I need a website or something.
Which happens.
Which happens more often than not. So we want to try and get to a place that we have everything synced up into the right place instead of being spread out across spreadsheets, Google Docs, emails, everything just hosted in one place, so that it's easier to see the pattern when you're starting to work at scale. So, Mark, how about you share your screen and we'll dive in, show some users our form.
Yeah,
do that. How we do that.
Okay, can you see that okay? There we go. Okay, so what we've done is we've taken a form that Vito's agency was actually using, and we've just rebranded it as Atrin for now. Bit of branding there. But this is an example of that form that we've kind of made it a little bit ugly, just so we can work on it and make it work better. What you're looking at here is WS Forms Layout Editor. We have a fully responsive mobile editor which works for different breakpoints on your browser. So the first thing I want to just show you is how you can resize fields just to make them a little bit more digestible. This is a very, very simple step you can do with forms.
So before we go into the core of the interface and how this is all working, Mark, may I ask you, like, why? You know, if I may, there's a bunch of form solutions out there.
Yeah.
What kind of triggered you to go out and create something of your own?
Mainly, we were frustrated with what was out there as developers. We found that when we were developing forms and then putting those on a website, it was kind of like putting a little alien on the page, and you had to style it yourself, use CSS to make things look better. So we really started with a ground-up layout editor, which you can see here, where you can actually preview the site in different screen resolutions. And build a responsive form. And the HTML that this spits out behind the scenes is very, very clean, which makes it very easy for developers to work with. Also, if you're using Bootstrap or Foundation as a framework on your site, WS Form actually detects that and outputs HTML native to those frameworks. So there's pretty much no CSS development you have to do. As long as your theme has the basic CSS building blocks in there for form elements, it'll style itself. We also were kind of frustrated with having to buy 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plugins to get it to do what we wanted. You know, if we wanted to have a signature field, we had to go and buy a plugin for that. If we wanted to, I don't know, add conditional logic, some form plugins require an additional plugin for that. WS Form has that all built in. So we've really
end up with like 7, 8, you know, the core form plugin, and then 7, 8 other add-ons just to get to.
Yeah, and it's all bloat that you don't really need. And then we've done some things in terms of performance as well. When forms are submitted in WS Form and the actual forms themselves, they're all stored in separate database tables for performance. You know, you don't typically with form plugins, they'll store the form and they'll store all the submissions in what's called the WP posts table. If you've got 100,000 form submissions in there, your homepage is having to compete with that data. So we've isolated all that data out, and there's a lot of performance things that we've done behind the scenes to really make these forms run efficiently and reduce the load on your server. We have WS Form running on some really big sites that are getting many, many form submissions a day. And so we had to make sure that, you know, performance was key. The other key thing that we've done is accessibility. We wanted to make sure that we were, you know, WCAG compliant, that we've got all of the ARAA tags behind the scenes to make the form easy to use and easy to be accessible. And WS Form does a lot of that out of the box, so you don't have to worry about it. But we do have some customization features. So if you find a label for accessibility doesn't read very well, you can modify that and make that very specific to it. So
as we're going through this, maybe we can start with the core questions. Like, what are we trying to do? What are we trying to accomplish with this form specifically?
Yeah. So with this form, what we're trying to do is we're trying to understand about someone's business and how we can build a website that's really going to help their business and through this lead form, capture as much information as we can about that business. So, you know, in order to do that, we're not interested in someone that just wants to fill out a first name, last name. We're looking to build a relationship with a customer. So we're looking for somebody that is prepared to take the time to fill out this form thoroughly and give us the information that we need.
I'd say even or for us, that's what these forms did. It created a place where it added the authority that we needed as people were going through those questions. They saw that we were asking short and concise questions that will give us the information and will help them dig in to what they're trying to achieve, as opposed to just you know, getting on a call, closing the sale straight away. And that did deter some people, but it deterred the right people, right? So only the people that we wanted to work with, that were excited about the process of joining us on this journey. Really, you're starting, as you said, you want to build a relationship. It's not just about like, let's do a website and move on. We want the website is just the front end of the entire relationship that we want to accommodate with those customers. So it's not a small form, but it's something that gave us all of the info that we needed.
Yeah, and it's a qualification tool. You're qualifying leads by using this form, by asking all those questions. But we can still make that manageable and easy for somebody to digest when they come to the site. And what we'll do is we'll make this form available to everyone afterwards, so they can download it, and they've got that list of questions that get asked. Okay, so let's talk about managing this information and making it a little bit easier for somebody to digest. If I just preview this form, you can have a look at this. It's, as you can see, it's quite lengthy, because we're talking about when we're in a developer's environment, there's two main devices that we're probably looking at: mobile devices and desktop devices, and there's a number of different devices in between. Now, on a desktop device, you've got a bit more room on that screen, so we can resize things to make these fields a little bit easier to look at. So if you look at the bottom here, we have a breakpoint selector, and what this enables us to do is to view the form across different devices. So this is kind of what the form would look like on a mobile device. On a mobile device, we typically want to keep those fields nice and big and wide, so your big fat finger can click on them. If you have too many columns, it can be a little bit tricky to use that. If we go more up to like a laptop size, then we can actually start to resize these fields. And as you can see in WS Form, that's super easy. All you got to do is just drag and drop these fields. In other form plugins, you're typing in CSS classes and stuff, and it can take a while. But you'll see what WS Form has done is it's actually retained the mobile layout, and now we've got a desktop layout ready. And if we go up to higher screen sizes, that layout is retained. You can also resize sections as well. So if you had a couple of sections, you can actually resize and put those sections side by side if you want. I'll just copy that so you can see how that works. And if we preview that, you can now see that we're starting to reduce the length of that form a little bit by introducing those columns. So that's a very, very simple way of cutting down the size of a form. The other thing we can do is break this form into different sections. We've actually already done that on this form here, but rather than just having a title of, here's the form and then just a huge list of fields, we can break that form up into different sections. You can see those different sections here. And you can optionally put a name on each of those sections as well, just to give the user a little bit of an introduction into what they're about to complete. So you can see that here. So we've got some section titles here as well. Another thing you can do is use repeaters on a form. So if you're asking somebody for a list of information, you can maybe just have one goal here, and they can click add to add another goal to the list. That way you don't leave, on some form plugins, you have to, if you want to ask a question like that, you may leave a space for 10 different things. You've got a big, long block there where people are thinking, oh God, I've got to fill out 10 things. If you can cut that down, just ask for maybe 3 goals as we've done here, and then they can just add more if they want to. And that just makes that a little bit easier to manage. The other thing you can do is you can introduce tabs on a site to break it down into a multi-step form. And we can do that in various different ways with WS Form. Let's go back into Forms here, and we'll go into this one here. So here you can see what we've done. We've actually split that form up, and we've moved the sections into different steps. And if we preview that, you've then actually got a shorter page for that first step. Right. And then they can
like titles to each one of them, right?
Yeah. And there are various different ways you can style this in WS Form. You can have conventional tabs if you want, just the regular tabs that you see at the top of a page, or you can do step by step. We even support having these steps vertically as well if you want. Right. So you can have the form on the right-hand side and have step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here. These steps can be renamed to anything that you want. So you could change this one to be, about your business. You'll notice every time I make a change on here, the preview updates automatically. So we've got like a real-time update on that. So yeah, so you can rename these and make these much easier to read along the top. You can then introduce navigation on those tabs. So you can do next, previous. That's super easy. All you need to do is just drag previous tab or next tab buttons onto your form any way you like. So we've made it so that all the components of the page can be drag and dropped anywhere you like on that form. It's not fixed, so they won't always be at the bottom of the page.
I don't know if it's possible, but this is something I always wanted in a form system. Is there a way to auto advance? So let's say once they finish.
Yeah, so, and I can show, that actually brings us nicely onto conditional logic and what you can do with that. Well, one thing I just want to quickly show you on this as well is we can also introduce a save function. So because the form is fairly large and they might want to take some time out and think about an answer and come back and answer it later on, you can add a save button to the form as well. It's like a save and continue, basically. So I can drag that save button anywhere I like on that form. I mean, I could put it there, for example. And when they click save, it'll save their form, and then they can come back later and continue to use that. We actually have two different save methods. We have a cookie-based save method, which means if they come away and come back again, it will reload the form again. We also have a non-cookie method, because I know some people don't want cookies on their site at all. You can actually go completely cookie-less with WS Form if you want to. And it'll send them an email with a link they can click on to then come back and continue the form. So coming back to your question, Vito, with doing an auto advance, let's have a look at the conditional logic in WS Form and how you can do that, and also how you can do some other cool stuff with it. So our conditional logic is form-centric instead of field-centric. So you'll find with a lot of form plugins that they'll have conditional logic on a field, and it will say, show this field if this other field equals this value, or if this field is not empty, and things like that. With ours, what we've done, we have a central location for all of your conditional logic. And what you can do is I can say if, for example, so you can see, I don't know if you can see those options. I don't think you can, but I'll show you some of the different options that we have in here. So you've got, for example, if a form has...
It shows the drop downs, doesn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't show the drop downs. Yeah, so, but I'll go through just a few of them so you can see what you've got. So you can see here, like if form is validated, if the form is not validated, if the form has been rendered, if the form has been saved. So we've got about 150 different conditions that you can choose with WS Form, which are all sensitive to the element that you're applying the conditional logic to. So I could say, for example, if the business snapshot section, which we were looking at, well, actually, let's do the tab. So if the About Your Business tab is validated, then we could say step 2, click. So that is basically your auto progression. So once the first tab is fully completed, auto move to step 2.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I'm going to delete that just for now. The other nice thing you can do is you could, for example, let's go to step 2 here. And you'll see here at the bottom of this tab, we have a question saying, is there anything about your current site that serves the business well? And if they say yes, then we want to show this please explain section here. So we've built some conditional logic for that. You'll see when I click on the conditional logic, it actually highlights all the sections or fields that are involved in that conditional logic. And as I hover over these different fields, you can see the condition on the right highlighting. So it's actually really easy to find where conditional logic is. But on this one here, we're saying, is there anything about your business, anything about your current site that serves the business well? So we're saying if that's set to yes, then set please explain to visible. And then we're actually focusing on that field as well to get the user across to that field automatically. Otherwise, we're going to hide it. So to see that in action, we can just go to step 2 here. And then there is your conditional logic running. That's a really, really simple example of what the conditional logic can do. We actually have some pretty crazy conditional logic in there for like color fields. So you can actually say, if the hue level is greater than something, then do something else, But the nice thing about the conditional logic...
I even like the fact that there is a toggle. That's something that is even rare. I used to do this.
Yeah, that's actually done with just a regular checkbox field that we have here. And we just apply a simple class to it to turn it into a toggle switch. So nice. In our knowledge base, we have a number of different articles that explain how to style different components different ways. So you can do that with radios, checkboxes. Even our select fields have like select to on them to make those easier to complete. So there's a lot of tools built into WS Form that can make using a form a lot easier. And then on top of that, we have some performance stuff as well. For example, if you have a select field that has maybe 1,000 entries in it, you may not want to load all of those into the form initially because that will cause a delay. So we have AJAX options where, as people type a certain term in, it'll preload it and search for that particular type. The repeaters are super easy to set up. So here's the Add Your Goal section that we were looking at earlier on. If you want to make a repeater in WS Form, this was another thing that frustrated us with other forms is, we have repeaters, and here's the knowledge base on how to do it and all the code you have to write to get it to actually work. With WS Form,
you have an add-on. You gotta have another add-on for this, just for this.
Yeah. So with WS Form, you just click repeatable. That's it, and it does it for you. And you can choose your default row count. So if we wanted to have 2 on that, we can just change it, and it will re-render everything automatically for you. So repeaters are super easy to work with. So that's a little brief look at conditional logic. We do have a knowledge base article on wsform.com, and people can have a look at, and they can see the breadth of what that particular piece can do. I want to kind of stick to this form though for now, rather than showing you fancy t-shirt demos. But it's all there if anybody wants it. So the other thing you can do as well is you can convert your form into what's called a conversational form, which is just another way of presenting a form to users. And you might have seen that with like Typeform and stuff like that. And I believe. Sorry, go ahead. Dive into this,
which is the second variation of the form that we created.
Yeah.
Let's have it, because I know you and I have been looking at this form, and you actually mocked it up after what we added it. So we've seen that many times before, but let's explore this a little bit, just so that people can also see how what are the questions that we're going through and what is the process and why we need why I also ended up doing this with Conversational Form on our website as well, because it was a little overwhelming for some users. So maybe you can load up the preview. I don't have the link, but we can talk a little bit about the questions that are being asked here, just from an agency point of view, right? Right. So we're starting with the basics here. The first name, last name, what is the main email address, and the company name, right? This is like the basic metadata that you need to just understand who you need to reach back to. Then we want to learn a little bit about the company itself. Now, there is a psychology behind this, because what we're trying to do pretty early on. So first of all, you see that we have the name and email, which is the easiest part for people to give. And maybe you can even show us later, Mark, how can we capture that email address, even stop now, right?
Right.
But if we're going to continue on this particular page, we have what does your company do? What are your products and services that you offer? And this question, and really, as you can see, we're starting to dive into some of the more simpler things. And the psychological logic behind this is just to get the customer talking, or the potential prospect talking, and just to try and share some information that is easy for them to write in. So they don't need to really think about the answers. And you'll see, and as we go through this form, the questions become a little more difficult for them, and it requires them to dig deeper in order for them to find those answers, which is also by design, because we want people that know what they want, right? We don't want people that will become like massive scope creeps throughout the project.
And I think the question about who are the decision makers for this project is really, really critical. And I also, in my experience, I don't know about you, Vito, but reducing the number of stakeholders on a project is critical, because if you have too many people trying to choose what color tone of green they want for something, things don't progress. So I think
too many chefs.
So I think understanding the bit, am I about to be hit with 10 different people on this, is later on you can communicate to them, look, if we want to make this project run smoothly, reduce the number of people that I'm dealing with. I think that can really help.
And well, with this, with Atarim, we actually simplify this a little more because you have that you don't get conflicted requests because they're all talking about the same element. Even here, if you click the plus icon and you want to change that that the thing over there. I mean, like the Atarim plus at the bottom right?
Oh,
Create a comment. So that kind of allows people to just stay on the same page and not they don't ask for different things. They don't repeat the same requests. So that makes it a little easier to work with multiple stakeholders.
100%.
But I definitely agree. The less, the better, because then you have decision makers in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Atarim process of commenting on areas of the page and on the form, that all works 100% with WS Form as well. So you can highlight fields, you can highlight copy that's within the fields, you can even highlight the steps along the top, and people can provide feedback about that during that process. But sorry, we digress.
Yes, but that's a good diversion from the topic. So if we go back to stage number 1, I think we're still there.
Yeah.
We had one more important question in there, which is the budget, right? Let's show me the money. So this is a question that a lot of people are scared of asking, and I know that I was when I first started this, but then you invest a lot of time into talking to someone, setting up meetings, and then you realize that they want to build the next Facebook, and all they have is $1,000. Right?
Yeah.
So this question is really critical, but also what it allows you to do is it allows you to frame your pricing. And I don't know, people can see the drop down, right?
I clicked on it, but it's not showing. But the options you have are under £3,000, 3,000 to 6,000, 6,000 to 10,000, 10 to 20, and over 20.
So that already signals to people that we're working with big projects, if you're below 3,000, then you're on the lower end of the spectrum of the project. So you probably should chill out a little bit with the requests that you're doing, or else it's going to go to the higher end of the spectrum of the 20K plus, And again, this is for the initial project, the initial budget for what we're trying to accomplish for that client. But really, with this field, this is a super powerful field to experiment with types of clients. So if you manage to get to a place that you're getting traffic onto your website and you're getting people to actually submit this form, if you're having issues or if you're having challenges doing that, driving traffic onto your website, getting people to use your website as a marketing platform, I would advise you to watch one of our previous coaching sessions that we did with Melissa, where we were talking about that, right? So this is like the next step. We're talking about how to drive traffic to your website after defining your niche and building your marketing funnel. And this is how you actually onboard those prospects. And really, this already takes into account to the fact that you have enough people that you don't want to talk to all of them, right? And so this field is very important for you to experiment with and find that sweet spot of what is the minimum price that I'm going to add into the budget that is going to bring me the type of customers that I want.
Right.
Right. So next up, what else do we have? Step 2. What do we have? What are we doing? Right. So here we're kind of asking a little bit about what is it that you like about your current website? So and this is a great ammunition, quote unquote, when you're going into a sales call, because a lot of us would go into a sales call looking at the customer's website and be horrified, right?
Look at that 1990 classic.
Yes, exactly. And all we do is just the current website. It's like, no, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that, and not realizing that the customer actually likes those things about their own website, or maybe we don't know the niche well enough, and these are the things that actually work for them, right? So this gives us a good place of common ground to discuss as we're going into the sales call after. And then we have the goals section, and the goals section is also super powerful for the sales call, because this is the end result. And really, a sales process is a matter of taking someone through a bridge, right? From their current situation to their desired situation. So here, looking at on this screen, on what are we doing, you're looking at their current situation, their current website, what they like about their current website. And then you're also seeing at what is their desired situation. What is the bridge that you need to cross together to get from where we are right now and to where they want to get to? But it also is a good place for us to manage those expectations because, like you said at the beginning, Mark, some people would imagine that, you just splash a website on there and you're a millionaire, right?
I keep trying. Yeah. And I must point out, we just copied this question down here just to highlight the conditional logic. This is not part of Agile Goals, but this is just an example of how you could make this switch on and off to make that easier to use.
If there is anything, right? If there is anything. The goals is super important just to make sure that the customer really has goals, because if there are no goals defined at the beginning of the project, there is no aspiration. That you never know when you're done. You never know when you win. So you want to define those things on the sales call, even if they're not defined here. You want to drill in and find those things through the conversation. Right. Step 3. Who are we doing this for, right? So this is the target audience. We want to understand who is the ideal customer, who are they, how old are they, the gender, where do they hang out online, what are their interests. So this is super powerful for when you're starting the build, because then you can go out and get some inspiration. But also this is great for when for the sales call as well, for the initial conversation, because if you do just a bit of research as to around this target audience, and when I say that, I don't mean like going out and surveying people. I mean like a simple Google search. You're going to find a whole bunch of data that you can use on this conversation. For example, if you're dealing with an older audience, you probably don't want to present a form like this that is like a 5-step form that has loads of fields. You probably want to keep it a little more simple and understand that the business model needs to accommodate having a phone call with that person or a meeting with that person. That also comes into play into what is going to be the font sizes, right? The contrast of the website, all of these things. Again, we're talking if we're talking with older audiences, but then on the other side, if we are dealing with younger audiences, there's also some legal regulations around that you need to be aware of as a website provider that maybe the customer is not aware of. So really understanding the target audience, where are those boundaries to operate within is really essential. Right, and this is a big question that a lot of customers have trouble answering. What are the top 5 reasons your ideal customer will visit your website? Right, so that is a great place to find. First of all, if your prospect understands their audience, because then they will come up with really creative ideas. For example, if it's a moving company, they might want to come in and move their schedule, right, or reschedule their move. If it's a charity, they might want to come in and make a donation, right? That's the easy one. But maybe they would want to come in and buy tickets for the upcoming event that the charity is organizing, and so on, and talk about campaigns. Maybe they would want to even create their own crowdfunding campaign. Maybe like someone would go into that website, which is something that we did loads with charities at our agency. We built their own crowdfunding systems that was like fully branded for them, right? So this is a great way to kind of gauge into the customer's needs and wants, how they understand their own target audience. But also I would say that this is a great place for building stage 2, 3 to 5 of the project, right? So after the initial build, let's do something simple right now. Let's get you up and running because your website is horrible in most cases, and do something proper that will get the people to do the core action. And stage 2, let's build the crowdfunding system. Stage 3, let's build a booking system, for ticket. Let's build a ticketing system, into that website. So that allows you to keep that relationship and store things in your backend, in your backlog, sorry, so that you can keep nurturing this client further by adding value and, of course, extracting more revenue.
Yeah, I think offering a phased approach to customers is a good way of getting a foot in the door with them as well. You can reduce that initial upfront investment they have to make, get them on board as a customer. They're then tied to you to a degree, which you can build that relationship with them and then work on those other projects later on. I also like here where you've got one of the top 5 reasons your ideal customer will visit your website, and encouraging them with a little example of list that we've got underneath there, just making them think about the whole life cycle of a customer, everything from the sales side all the way through to supporting that customer. Websites aren't just about generating business, they're about supporting businesses as well. And I think the more that you can do that with your website and recommend that to your customers, because it's ultimately more business for you, but it's going to make a better website for that business and for their customers.
I agree 100%. And like the last thing that we can say about this particular field is that you already know the budget, right? So that's how you can look at those reasons, or basically this is a list of features without saying it, right? So you get those top 5 features that you need to build into that. So by understanding those lists of features, comparing this to the budget, you can have a really educated conversation on the sales call as to where we should start from, or let's do it all, if they have the budget.
Yeah.
Right. Next up, we're going to design concept. So your website will be the online face of your business. Tell us how you present your business and who are the other players out there. So this is a bit of a competitors research, right? We have a nice toggle. I love the toggles. Do your competitors have websites, right? So we can list a few of their competitors in here, so you can look at them and maybe even pull that in the conversation. Look at this guy. Look at what they have. And you should have something that is similar to that if you want to be on the same level, the same standard, right? Or look at this. This is where they're falling, and this is where we can win,
Yeah, always a great sales tool to show potential clients other websites, so they go, we want that.
Yes. So how do you want people to feel when they interact with your brand, safe and secure? So we're giving them a few keywords that they can play with. And that allows us, again, not only to understand the design of the website. So this is a form that we're asking people to fill out before the initial sales call. So you're going into this conversation understanding the feeling that they believe people should be feeling when they're talking to a business, right? So if the conversation, if they tell you that they feel that their customers should feel safe and secure, I would definitely say that this is a mirror of how they want to feel. So you can present this sentiment when you're talking to the prospect, and you're going to emphasize the security and why this is a safe space that you're going to be building for them, and why your company is the right and safe choice for them. As opposed to on the other end of the spectrum, if they want something edgy and excited, you can completely change the way that you talk to them through that conversation. And it's not a matter of like sometimes people get me wrong when I say these things and say like that you're not being yourself or some way, like your personality is gonna go through either way, whether you like it or not. And if you're not a right fit, then you're not the right fit for that customer, which is also fine. But we do put those masks when we talk to people. So I always give this very basic example. I never talk to my bank manager in the same way that I talk to my mom, right? You put on a different mask. So we just have to accommodate these little personas, and this gives us the ability to gauge into that before the call. Right. Tell us about your competitors. Who else is competing for the attention of your ideal customer, and what are they doing that you think is working? So we're looking at the positives here. And so for example, if I want to talk about Atarim, what our biggest competitor is email, right? 87% of the industry is still using emails to collaborate and communicate with their clients. I know why it's wrong, but I also know why it's comfortable and makes sense to people. It's like the easy choice, right? That's the easy choice. So that allows us to build the tool in a way that makes it the easy choice as well. Are there any other website in particular that you like the design of, and why? So really, this goes into a little more of the client's personal taste, so that you can nail the design on the first try instead of doing the whole thing, and then bring them over and they're like, okay, you know.
Yeah, and I think that could be that's a really useful driver for design, but it can also be a good place for you to steer clients in the right direction. You know, they may come back with something, and you'll be like, "That's not the direction you need to be going in." So, good to absorb, but I think also sometimes you need to be firm and direct with the client and point them in the right direction.
I agree. And the way that I like to put this, and this was kind of our mantra when we were onboarding new clients, we were always talking about the website is not for me and it's not for you. It's for that target audience that you define over there, right? So if they told us that they're dealing with old folks, and then what they want, or like the websites that they like is like the I don't know, mtv.com, right? Probably not the right design language that we want to convey those people. Right. Let's see. Last screen. Final notes, right? So then we have just a few more kind of roundup questions. If we were celebrating a successful website strategy in 12 months from now, and again, we're bringing them into the future as we're wrapping things up, we want them to contemplate on the fact that they spent time, significant amount of time filling this form out, probably about 30 minutes from what we were tracking. And then by this point, we want to see how close they are to reality. So like, what can we do to accommodate a strategy that will get them to these points? And you can see we're trying to get them to give us some numerical goals here. Even though we asked goals initially, here they're even more primed to do that again. So the first one was to get them excited, but this one is to seal the understanding of what they really need. And of course, finally, anything else that you want to get off your chest. So here we would get people like the last company that I worked with just disappeared on me. You know, the guy that we were working with, our website got hacked 7 times before.
Hosting was terrible.
Yes, the hosting was terrible. Exactly. You know, all of their troubles and pains. This is where they would usually put that, which is again incredible going into a sales call. And finally, privacy a little bit. A
little bit of GDPR at the bottom there.
Exactly.
Cool.
Cool. So now you saw that this is a long one, and even with the steps, it was kind of daunting. So, Mark, what can we do to make this a little more conversational?
I can show you what we can do with that. Can I just mention a couple of other things that you can do on this as well? Is if on your website you potentially have someone signed in already, you can pre-populate these forms with a lot of those fields. So you'll see here my name, my email address has come up here automatically. I've actually filled out a first name and last name automatically. So that's just something else you can consider. It would depend on the type of business that you are, but you know, maybe if this is a follow-up form for additional business and they're logged in, you could pre-populate the form as well. Just one other thing I want to quickly show you. This is another one of the frustrations for us as an agency, as a developer, was filling out these forms and testing them. I mean, oh my God, having to fill out all these forms out every time you tested this form. So in WS Form, we do have a Debug Console, which comes with WS Form. It's not an additional plugin, it's built in. The great thing about this is you can hit a populate button, it'll actually fill that form out for you automatically. The cool thing about this is it's actually context sensitive as well to the fields. So it'll actually put email addresses in email fields. If you have number fields with a min and max on them, it'll fill out the numbers correctly. We also have a populate and submit button, which will actually populate it, submit it in one click. It makes testing forms super quick and easy. Right. Let's go back to conversational. So let's have a look at a conversational version. The way conversational works in WS Form, super simple. Each section becomes a section in your conversational form. And you can put as much content as you like into each of those sections. Typically with a conversational form, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second, but you're breaking the form up into manageable chunks, and you want each section to have 1 or 2 questions in it at most. So let's preview that. Let's go into, let's publish that. Go into here, go into conversational, and we'll preview.
We have a good question that we're going to cover shortly after we show this, because this is something that was also interesting to me. I'm going to keep this question here, Facebook user. If you have any questions, we're kind of getting to the end of this demo or this coaching session. Please leave the questions on Facebook. Make sure you click the link in the description to make sure that we know who you are.
Yeah, great. So this is what a conversational form looks like. What we've done is we've taken that big long form or a tabulated form and we've broken it into steps. And as you progress through that form, you'll see that it's going to jump down between these different sections. So I fill out my first name, my last name. When I'm ready to go to the next step, it'll scroll down and bring that particular question into view. There's actually...
automatically go to the next, or I need to click down, right?
Well, there's different ways you can do it. So as I'm typing in my information, when I press enter, it'll actually go to the next form. So I can just press enter to go through each of those fields. You can use tab. Some people are used to using tab. You can actually do shift tab to go up and down. For those that aren't familiar with that, we have basic navigation here, so you can jump up and down this page as you wish. So there's a number of different ways you can do it. These forms are actually quite a challenge for us to code, but we've also taken accessibility into account as well. So, for example, checkboxes, radios, those can all be controlled with arrow keys, enter keys, space, and things like that to jump through. But this is just a nice way of presenting the questions one by one. And then there's various ways that you can present this as well. This is one example. You can also set it so that one question appears without these other questions, light above and below it. So it literally just shows one per page if you want to. But fundamentally, it operates in exactly the same way as any other form in WS Form. So you can still use you'll see we've got the Debug Console down the bottom here. So you can still actually populate that form using the populate button. It'll jump through every single field all the way down to the bottom. So what we'll do is when we make these forms available for everyone, we'll have a link to a regular form and a conversational as well, so they can see how those are set up. With conversational, you don't want to have tabs on there because tabs aren't going to be compatible with a conversational form. So we've got 2 different versions of that form that people can play around with. And this supports repeaters, it supports conditional logic as well. So you can actually switch parts of this conversational form on and off if you want to.
Right, based on the conditional logic, if they fill out some different elements.
Yeah, exactly.
And basically this is, we embed this on a page, right? So I can still design everything on this, right?
Yeah. So the forms, the regular forms you can put anywhere on a page. So you can have, in WS Form, you could have a newsletter sign up, you could have this business inquiry form, you can have 3 or 4 different forms all on the same page, no trouble at all. They all work independently. Conversational typically is a full screen experience. So they would click, have the experience, and then, and when we're going to briefly talk about CRM as well. But this, when you hit go on this could then push to Mailchimp. You could then redirect to a thank you page or back to your site, whatever you want to do. It's entirely up to you. The whole process is very, very fluid.
So let's see. We have, and that actually connects to the point of hooking this up to third-party integration. What do we do about abandoned cart, or it's not abandoned cart?
So with abandoned cart, what you can do, it's not technically a cart, but an abandoned form. As Vito was saying, what we're doing is we're getting that email address captured as early on in the form as we possibly can. You probably don't want to put it right at the beginning. But we've got, first name, last name, and then we're straight into getting an email address. Now, what you can do with WS Form is when the email is changed, you can automatically behind the scenes run a save. It's a silent event, but what it's doing is it's capturing that first name, last name, and the email address. And that can be done with conditional logic as well. Pretty simple. So we'll just let me expand this out to make it bigger so you can see it. So we would go if I'll do this on the first name field on this particular example, but we'll say if the first name, let's see, is not blank,
right?
Then form save. It's as simple as that. So, and you can also do save if validated as well. So that's a nice way of making sure that the email address has been entered is valid, and it's not just a spam robot coming along and hitting the site. But
so this happens when they leave the field, right? As soon as they leave the field.
Yeah, it can be done in a number of different ways. So you can actually say if the first name has changed, you can actually do it on input if you want to. So that's when a key's literally pressed. But you probably want to do it on a change event.
Yes, exactly.
Or you can do it on a blur as well. So a blur is when focus is taken away from that field and it's gone to a different field. So that's another way that you can do that. We have a knowledge base article about how to do form abandonment and the best ways of doing it. And that explains how to do this conditional logic for that. There's just a lot of different ways of doing it.
And how does that work with privacy laws? Like, is that allowed to do?
It is, provided you're showing on the website clearly that you're going to do that. With GDPR, basically, you've got to be as clear as you possibly can about anything that's going on with your website. All of our forms that you create in WS Form, I'll just show you a really simple example. Let's just do a contact us form. You'll notice we have GDPR built into everything. Right. So we actually have the checkboxes ready to go for you. Some people remove them. I recommend keeping it there. They've got to be opt-in, and they've got to be required. So we make sure that that's on there automatically. This automatically puts your blog name in, but you can change that if you want to. One of the other things that we have in WS Form that other form plugins don't have is we're actually tied in with the WordPress Gdpr functionality that a lot of people don't even know is there. But you can actually do data export and data erasure requests within WordPress itself. And our forms can tie to that. And we have templates for that. So if you want to offer that on your website, you can just say, I want to create a data erasure request. It will create that form for you. And you can just put that wherever it's convenient on your site to enable people to start that process. Do you want to show the CRM stuff, Vito?
So let's say we got this abandoned form thing. We got the name, email, and first and last name, and then the email address. Yep. Now we need to push this into ActiveCampaign, Mailchimp, something like this, so that it can go into like an automated sequence, right?
Yeah. So we've got a bunch of. Let me just if I can type in my web address correctly. Okay, so we have a bunch of integrations that you can tie into. So like you said, ActiveCampaign, Mailchimp, etc. We've also got things like Zapier. We have Automated WP, which actually enable you to tie into an even bigger sphere of integrations that you can work with. Padly is another one. But just to show you how easy that can be done. So what I'm going to do is just give you a quick example of how to build a form and then link that up to Mailchimp. One of the ways that you can do it is if you've already got some custom fields that you've built into Mailchimp for your Mailchimp list, and this is the same for most of our integrations, it's possible to create forms in WS Form in one click that are automatically integrated in with Mailchimp. So you'll see here, these are the lists that we have set up in Mailchimp itself. And I can just click on newsletter sign up. And what it's now doing is it's going off to Mailchimp, pulling down my custom fields and actually building a form for you from all the custom fields that you have. So you'll see here, we've got all the usual fields, and then we've got some other custom fields that we've added to Mailchimp. You can style this form in exactly the same way we were before. So you can resize stuff, do whatever you need to. You can create a tab. You can create
no more iframe forms for Mailchimp.
No, and you can and you can drag fields between tabs to make things super. You can even drag sections between tabs as well, so you can really very quickly build forms out. Let me just build that again, so I'm working with something that is presentable. But the output of WS Form is effectively what we call actions. And actions can be anything from sending an email, from showing a message on the screen, running JavaScript. For the developers out there, you can run WordPress hooks, anything that you need to. And push into Mailchimp is one of those actions. So you'll see here on this Mailchimp form that we've created that we've got add to Mailchimp. And it's automatically chosen the list that we chose when we created the form. And below that, we've got all the fields mapped automatically for you as well. All the interest mapping is done. And it's as simple as that. I mean, this form basically is ready to use out of the box. You can just start it how you want. So that's how easy it is. You can also pre-populate a form with data as well. So with the form that we've been looking at today, people could come back and actually edit that if they wanted to, using data that's stored in Mailchimp. So in our form settings, you can go into data and you can say populate using an action. And what it will do based upon the email address, that we assume if someone's logged into WordPress that email address is verified and is working, we can go off to Mailchimp, pull that record back, and then pre-populate that form with that information. And then they can tweak it, hit save, and it will push it back to Mailchimp again. So
let me ask you about this. So does this mean that they have to be logged in to get this done, or can I start typing my email and then zoop, I'm going to get everything?
No, it absolutely won't do it based upon someone typing in an email address, because obviously you could type in anyone's email address and pull their data back. So for security reasons, they have to be logged into WordPress in order to pull that data back. But yeah, again, that's all auto mapped for you, ready to go. Now, if you've got an existing form that you've been working on, so if we go back to one of the forms that we were working on today, you can do that retroactively. So I can go into actions, I can say add to Mailchimp, I can choose what Mailchimp list I want, and then I can start mapping those fields. So I can say I want to map this form field to this Mailchimp field. And you can do all the.
And then I map this to the save action that we did before after the email is submitted. Yeah,
exactly the same. Yeah, we do actually have an auto map feature which will work if it can recognize fields on your form that match Mailchimp's. But yeah, we've got quite long questions on this one, so it's not going to map those automatically. But that feature is there. But yeah, so you know, as well as pushing it to Mailchimp, you could simultaneously push it to Mailchimp and maybe Google Sheets if you want to have a Google Sheet with all of your links.
We were pushing this to this form. We were pushing out to Pipedrive, which was like our sales tracking flow, and then in there you just get a deal. You know that you make sure that you keep following up on. It gets flagged. From there, a sequence inside Pipedrive has started, but this can be done in ActiveCampaign. This can be done in a lot of CRMs that really allows you to automate the next steps based on the time the form was submitted. So, for example, if you haven't called up the person within 2 hours, this was already shown in red in our system over there, you know, because we know the entry time, the exact entry time. It's all in real time.
That's a whole other webinar. It's that's once you've got this pushed into your CRM platform, and I saw the question there, does it map to MailerLite? Yes, it does. We have MailerLite integration. You can have a look on our website on the homepage. We've actually just listed all the integrations that we have now. So you've got stuff like Groundhog is on there now, Salesforce, MailerLite. So and then we also have, this is kind of unrelated to what we've been talking about today, but we do have e-commerce integration. WS Form integrates in with WooCommerce. So you can actually do product customization with WS Form. You can pull in forms actually onto products. And this integration list, we steer everything based upon feedback from our customers. So we have a feature request page and we ask people to vote on that. And people can steer us in the direction of what the next integration is that they want. But we've got quite a few there already, as you can see.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. This is like a full on system. Mark, amazing, man. Let's see if we have some new comments coming in.
Sure.
Do you have a WAS option? WAS option.
Is there? We don't. No.
How would you connect this to what does that mean? Like a multi-site, basically. I think it would work on a multi-site. So like this would definitely work on a multi-site, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, we have it. We have it running on multi-site right now. We have a demo that people can sign up for, and that is in fact actually running on multi-site as well.
So definitely, Facebook user, this can be running on WAS. Even more than that, I saw Automato, right? That was the name of this plugin, Automato?
Yeah, Automated WP.
Yes.
There are various integrations like that. But yeah, Automated WP is great. I mean, that can tie you in with a ton of different CRM platforms. Yeah, and that actually comes included with Automated WP as well. So it's part of their platform.
Awesome. So as we're wrapping up this session, let me know if you have any other questions. And for now, I'm just going to show you if you want to get started with WS Forms. So I'm going to share my screen here. Where is my screen? Right. So you can visit this page that is right here on the screen at atarim.io/LP/WS/forms-offer. And you're going to get, if you're not a user yet, then you're going to get the ability to use Atarim for $1 for the first 30 days. Plus, you're going to get 50% off of WS Forms, which is insane. Mark, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
But also for existing users, this is the deal. So if you're going to find this within your deals dashboard inside your account, you can find this directly in there. So just like come on in, and you're going to get this insane deal that Mark is offering right now. So Mark, tell us a little bit about this 50%. What does that mean?
So it's 50% off any of our plans. So we have 3 different levels of products. We have a personal edition, which is for 1 site. We have a freelance edition, which is for up to 5 sites. And then we have an agency edition, which is for unlimited websites. It actually includes all of our add-ons that we sell. So it's kind of like, one product for everything. And we're offering 50% off any of those plans as well. If you opt to go with a personal plan, which is just for the 1 site, you can actually buy the plugins a la carte, and we're giving 50% off those as well. So it's off everything.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. No, so I have a question about the link that didn't really work. So I'm in incognito right now. I'm not logged in, so it should be fine. And I'm even gonna share this. So let me just even do. Let me see 1 second. And yeah, this is the link. LP/WS-form-offer. That's where we want to go to find these details. And I'm going to share this right after this as we're wrapping this up. I'm going to share this link in the comment section of this piece of training. And if you want to catch the replay, you can find this on our YouTube channel. You can find this on Facebook. And Mark, thank you, man. It was awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and then we'll also work out some way of getting those forms uploaded so people can download those and play around with them. Okay, thank you for having me, Peter. I appreciate it.
We're going to include this with the email that comes after the submission for this deal. Probably give us, send this over to me. I'll pass this to Jerome, and probably give us a day or so, and then it's going to be in there. And if you're signing up before that, don't... is this the right link? Atarim LPS Forms. I see. So Facebook user, you're using Forms instead of form. It's singular, and then it's gonna work. Yeah. So you want to
singular on the form, and you'll be fine. I just tested it here. It's working great.
Perfect. Right. Thank you, Mark. Amazing.
Oh, thank you, Vito. Appreciate it.
Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you on the next coaching session.